What's up, guys? It's Drew, and today we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be starting this new mini-series about how the next generation of the NBA is. So if you want to tune into that, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss when I post. And let's get into it. So first we have Devin Booker, and this is going to be it's going to be separate videos. So this is going to be the first video of that. So not every young star is going to be featured in this video. So first we have Devin Booker, and I'm just going to give my personal take on these players. Devin Booker, I believe, is a true shooter. He is obviously the Suns' true star, but he has to have guys that complement his style of play. Like this year with Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton doesn't have the ball in his hands. And then you have the role players like Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, who some young, some old on that team, but when they all mix together, they are a very good Phoenix Suns team. But I'm not really talking about the teams themselves, I'm talking about the player. But Devin Booker is he's a very skilled scorer, like I said, but he does a lot of underrated things. He has a tall frame. I think it's like 6'5" or 6'6", and that's pretty tall for a shooting guard. So he can box out at other shooting guards and get rebounds, and that's an underrated part of his game. He can also pass the ball, new development in his style of play as well, because since he's such a threat on the scoring end, he can also be a threat on the passing end as well, because it's almost like his teammate Chris Paul. Chris Paul can shoot it and he can pass it, and when you're a center, like you are absolutely lost with Chris Paul. So if Devin Booker can be like that, he's gonna be, I think, a superstar. Between a star and a superstar, a star is a star. They're the first option on a team. They score, they do other things, and that's Devin Booker. A superstar goes above and beyond. They help teams win championships. And if Chris Paul and Devin Booker lead the Suns team to a championship, you actually could consider Devin Booker as a superstar, because you have LeBron James, Steph Curry, they won championships, and then Kevin Durant has won a championship. Those are all superstars. They've all won championships, and they all thrive. They don't go one and done. They're all fighting for it still, especially so. Next up is Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. I think that Joel Embiid, he's absolutely been a force this year for the 76ers, because for the second half of the year, post All-Star break, he hasn't been shooting a lot of threes. If he can shoot the three, he is the most dominant player in the NBA, and he possibly could be MVP if he does that. But he hasn't been shooting the ball lately, so you kind of get in a rhythm where, as a defender, you're just like, he's not going to shoot the ball. I'm just going to kind of soak into the paint if you're a center, or even on a switch possibly. But you get in those slumps at some point, so you got to pick it up. I think he's got to keep shooting threes, but other than that, as well as Devin Booker, he has a great surrounding core that he really didn't have last year. Because I believe that Seth Curry and Danny Green are very underrated in the part that they really contribute to championship teams. Because Danny Green has been on so many championship teams. He has championship experience. That's enough to bring to a team that's already contending. But he shoots the three a lot. That's how he won those championships. Seth Curry has a brother that you probably know, but well, you should know, but he also is a 3-point sniper like his brother. But Seth Curry, I mean, he's an even at least percentage-wise, is a better shooter than Steph Curry. But Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are a great young core in Philadelphia. They just are. And there's no other way to say it, because I think Joel Embiid leads this contending team with absolute no sort of worries. Because yeah, sure, you have a little chip on your shoulder when you're going into the playoffs, and you could possibly be the 1 seed. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because Brooklyn's up there right now. But Philadelphia, if they go into the second seed, you are actually better off playing the 4 seed in the East than playing the 3 seed in the East, because the 4 seed in the East is like 4 games back of the 3 seed, maybe even more. So that's a huge difference. So everyone, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and even Milwaukee is fighting for the 1 spot because they know how much of a gap it is between the 3 seed and the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. So they gotta be fighting. If where I stand right now, Philadelphia and Brooklyn are gonna battle it out in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, I'm not sure who's gonna win that exactly, but whatever happens, that is gonna be one of the best series I hope I ever see. I hope it's like that, and if it isn't, I'm gonna be so mad. But it's just 2 powerhouses going at it, and I mean, same with Milwaukee as well. With Milwaukee though, they just are a playoff. They're just a playoff disappointment. So I don't think they're getting into the Eastern Conference Finals between Philadelphia and Brooklyn, whoever they play. Which I believe it's going to be Philadelphia, because I think Brooklyn's going to stand where they are. But Joel Embiid in the MVP conversation is an interesting one, because he has, he hasn't missed a handful of games, but it feels like he has. I mean, it feels like he hasn't done his job for me. Even though he has, but I feel like he hasn't done enough in that regard. But if he wins a championship, I'm fine with that. I'll respect him. But Joel Embiid has a very good chance of winning MVP. That's all I'm going to say about Joel Embiid. Next up, the biggest night tonight, as I'm recording this, Jayson Tatum pours in 60 points. This inspired me to make this series. Jayson Tatum led a historic comeback against the San Antonio Spurs, down by 32 at one point, and they won in overtime by 3. And guess how many points Jayson Tatum had? 60 points. And that's not all he did. I believe he had 8 rebounds and 5 assists. That is ridiculous. I mean, Boston has not had a good year at all. They just lost on Sunday, Sunday to the Hornets. I thought that was a terrible loss. They should have played more urgent, because they really have to get out of the play-in situation. They have to get in the 6th seed. You're either playing Milwaukee or you're playing Philadelphia. And I think Boston has a chance against Milwaukee, so you gotta fight for that 6th seed. But they do not give up in this one, which is a great sign for the Boston Celtics, because you're down by 32, and I think it was in the first half. I'm not too sure, but Jayson Tatum had 60 points. San Antonio's leading scorer, DeMar DeRozan, had 30. If you have double the points as the other team's leading scorer, you know you just made history. Yeah, probably. And the other team's guy scored 30 as well, I should add on. But 60 points, just think about that. When I saw that he scored 60 points, and since I'm a Jazz fan, I thought of Donovan Mitchell's 57. 60 points is 60 points. And he didn't do it for fun. He did it to lead his team. You know how James Harden scored 60 in Houston, and it was not really a comeback. It wasn't urgent. He just scored 60, and it wasn't urgent at all for James Harden to do that. But this was an urgency. The word urgency needs to be used more in Boston, because they just did it, and they have to keep doing it. And they have the key pieces. They keep getting injured. I know they keep getting injured, but if they don't get injured, they will win. But it's out of their control. I know, it's out of their control. But the last one for this first part of the series, I can't leave out a Jazz man, Donovan Mitchell. I can actually say this firsthand. I've seen every Jazz game this year except for one. Donovan Mitchell sprained his ankle, we all know. But before that, he is such a force. And I can show evidence. The Suns are actually playing the Jazz right now, and they're creaming them by, I think, around 30 now. But Donovan's out. Well, Conley's out too, but we're just going to focus on Donovan. Donovan has a little bit of a fire in him to win and to just fire up the Jazz. And I think it all started in the bubble when he had that 57-point game against the Nuggets in Game 1. And he held them together, even though they lost. Had he not scored 57, they wouldn't have gone to overtime. They wouldn't have. And he kept doing it. He scored 53 times in that series, or 2. I'm just like, what? It's crazy that he's never had a 50-point game up until that point, and he had 3 in that series alone. 3 in 7 games? And then this year, I don't think he's had a 50-point game. I think he just has that certain fire, and he has sort of an urgency and a never quit attitude. And even like Game 7, Conley shoots it from the left wing, it rattles out. You can tell the energy in Donovan Mitchell is absolutely drained. It's drained. And everyone else, but Donovan's energy on that particular play is eye-catching because he put out every single blood and tear, and he really he did it for the Jazz, and they just couldn't do it back. And then you move on to this year, he's brought that fire back, and well, you look, the Jazz have been in first for a while. They're not going to be in first after tonight, of course, but they've been first for a lot of months. And they didn't start out good. They started out 4-4, and he brought them home. But he is, I could talk about him all day, and he's a great player. He really is. And I'm not saying he's better than anyone else on this list. I think they're all have to grow, and we'll see who's better than who and see what their potential is in 5 or so years. But hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and press the bell, and of course turn on all notifications so you never miss when I post a video. And we're gonna go out. Peace out.